Once a year, in ancient Egypt, the people did something that sounds completely insane. They walked into a temple, a holy place, the house of a god, and they drank themselves unconscious. On purpose, as a religious duty. Not in secret, not in shame, this was the plan. Men and women packed into a sacred hall, pounding back enormous quantities of beer until they passed out cold on the floor. And the priest didn't stop them. The priests were doing it too. Getting blackout drunk wasn't a sin in ancient Egypt. It was a way to get closer to the divine. Welcome to the Festival of Drunkenness, and it's only the beginning. Because the ancient Egyptians had a relationship with alcohol that ran through every part of their lives. They were paid in it. They prayed with it. They medicated with it. They built the pyramids on it. They got married, mourned their dead, and worshipped their gods with a drink in hand. So how exactly did ancient Egyptians get drunk? What were they actually drinking? And why did a civilization this organized, this disciplined, this obsessed with order, decide that once a year, everybody should get absolutely hammered for God? Let's pour ourselves into it. Start with the drink that ran the entire country, beer. Egyptian beer was not what you're picturing. Forget the cold, clear, golden pint with a nice foamy head. Egyptian beer was thick, cloudy, lumpy, soupy. It was so dense with grain and sediment that people drank it through strainers, or even through long reed straws to get past the gunk floating on top. If you ordered an Egyptian beer today, you'd probably ask the waiter to take it back. It looked less like a refreshing drink and more like someone had wrung out a loaf of bread into a cup. And honestly, that's basically what it was. Egyptian beer was made from bread. Bakers would partially bake loaves, crumble them into water, let the mixture ferment, and strain it. The result was a porridge-like brew, low in alcohol, high in calories, packed with nutrients. It was less of a party drink and more of a liquid meal. They literally called it, in spirit, liquid bread. And here's the wild part. Everyone drank it, all day, including breakfast, including kids. This wasn't because Egypt was one giant party. It was because the water, especially near the towns, could make you sick, and the brewing process made beer safer. So beer became the default beverage of an entire civilization. Your morning didn't start with coffee. It started with a mildly alcoholic grain smoothie. Honestly, some of us would take that deal. Beer was so central that it became money. The workers who built the temples and tombs, even the pyramid builders, were paid partly in beer, with daily rations measured in jugs. A standard ration could be several liters a day per worker. Let that sink in. The greatest monuments in human history were built by a workforce that was, at minimum, pleasantly buzzed for most of the workday. The next time you look at the perfect geometry of the Great Pyramid, just remember, those guys were on the beer the entire time. Frankly, it makes it more impressive. Now, if beer was the drink of the common man, wine was the drink of the elite. Wine was a luxury. The wealthy, the priests, and royalty drank it. Grapes grown in vineyards in the Nile Delta, pressed and fermented into red and white wines, stored in large clay jars called amphorae. And the Egyptians were shockingly sophisticated about it. They labeled those jars. They wrote right on the jar the year it was made, the vineyard it came from, and even the name of the chief winemaker, and sometimes a quality rating, like good wine, or very good wine, or my personal favorite, wine for taxes. They invented the wine label, the vintage, and the bad online review, all at once. A sommelier today would feel completely at home rummaging through a Pharaoh's wine cellar. And they had favorites. King Tutankhamun's tomb was stocked with jars of wine for the afterlife, and the labels were so detailed that modern scientists could analyze the residue and tell that the boy king preferred red. 3,000 years later, we know what was in Tutankhamun's wine rack. He was buried with a curated collection, ready to keep the party going for all eternity. You have to respect the commitment. But the Egyptians didn't just drink to relax or to celebrate. They drank as medicine. And this is where it gets questionable. Egyptian doctors used beer and wine as the base for a huge number of remedies. Got a stomachache? Herbs and beer. Got a cough? Honey and herbs and beer. Pretty much whatever was wrong with you, step one was frequently add beer. In fairness, alcohol does kill some germs, and it definitely makes you care less about your symptoms, so it wasn't entirely crazy. Some of these medicinal brews were spiked with actual herbs that had real effects. Others were spiked with things you really don't want to think about. Let's just say not every ingredient in an Egyptian prescription came from a plant. But the alcohol was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. If a remedy made you feel better, it might just be because you were tipsy. And they understood hangovers. Oh, they understood hangovers intimately. Egyptian texts contain what may be among the oldest hangover cures ever written down, and the leading remedy was a wreath of boiled leaves from a shrub called Alexandrian laurel, worn around the neck. So the morning after the festival, you'd see grown adults walking around with leaves tied around their necks, looking miserable, nursing the world's oldest documented hangover. Some things about humanity have simply never changed. They didn't have a greasy breakfast and a sports drink. They had a leaf necklace and regret. Which brings us back to where we started, the Festival of Drunkenness. Because this is the strangest, most wonderful part of the whole story. And it's completely real. The festival was tied to one of Egypt's most important myths. According to the legend, the sun god Ra grew furious with humankind and sent the goddess Sekhmet, a terrifying lion-headed goddess of war and destruction, to punish them. And she went too far. She went on a rampage, slaughtering humans, drunk on blood, unstoppable, threatening to wipe out all of humanity. The gods panicked. How do you stop an unstoppable war goddess? The answer they came up with is genuinely brilliant. They brewed a massive quantity of beer, thousands of jars of it, and dyed it red to look like blood. Then they flooded a field with it. Sekhmet, still in her bloodthirsty frenzy, saw what she thought was a vast lake of blood and did exactly what you'd hope. She drank all of it. And she got so utterly, monumentally drunk that she passed out, slept it off, and woke up calm and gentle, transformed into the loving goddess Hathor. Humanity was saved by tricking a genocidal goddess into getting wasted. Beer literally saved the world, so every year the Egyptians reenacted it. The Festival of Drunkenness celebrated the day alcohol saved humanity. People gathered, often at the temple of the goddess, and drank to deliberate excess, to the point of passing out. And it wasn't seen as shameful, it was sacred. The belief was that by drinking yourself into that altered, unconscious state, you could break through the barrier between the human world and the divine, and meet the goddess in your dreams. Worshippers would drink until they collapsed, sleep right there in the temple precinct, and then be woken. Sometimes, according to evidence, by the beating of drums, so that in that hazy, hungover, half-dreaming state, they could commune with the goddess. Archaeologists have actually found evidence of these celebrations, including a porch of drunkenness associated with a powerful queen built for exactly these festivities. This was an official, state-sanctioned, religiously required party. There was music, there was dancing, there was feasting. There was, by some accounts, a fairly relaxed attitude toward what else happened between people in the dark once everyone was drunk. This was a fertility festival too, after all. It was Egypt's holiest rave, and it was government approved. Just imagine explaining that to a modern boss. Sorry, I'm not coming in tomorrow. Religious obligation. I have to go to the temple and get blackout drunk for the goddess. It's mandatory. It's in the scriptures. And in ancient Egypt, that excuse would have worked. So step back and look at the whole, slightly tipsy picture. Here was one of the most sophisticated, organized, disciplined civilizations the world has ever produced. They built monuments aligned to the stars. They ran courts and contracts and a vast bureaucracy. They planned for eternity itself. And the very same people drank beer for breakfast, paid their pyramid builders in jugs of it, labeled their wine like modern connoisseurs, treated their illnesses with it, cured their hangovers with a necklace of leaves, and once a year walked into a temple to drink themselves unconscious in honor of the time alcohol saved the human race. It's tempting to laugh at it, but look closer, and it's deeply familiar. We drink to celebrate. We drink to mourn. We drink to relax after a brutal day, to loosen up at weddings, to toast the dead, to feel connected to the people around us. We have our own festivals built around getting drunk together. We just don't admit they're sacred. The Egyptians were more honest about it. They looked at this strange substance that could turn a furious goddess gentle, turn a stranger into a friend, and turn an ordinary night into something you'd remember, or not remember, forever. And instead of pretending it was shameful, they built a holiday around it and thanked the gods. 3,000 years ago, a tired worker finished his shift on a monument that would outlast empires, collected his daily ration of thick, gritty beer, and sat down to drink it as the sun went down over the Nile. And honestly, after a day of hauling stone in the desert heat, the man had earned it. Cheers to him.